rotations of holidays throughout the entire year. And every time a holiday comes, it's either two things here. Number one, we automatically assume in our heads, I'm Muslim, and whatever is going on right now, it's haram, right? It's like a direct thought which comes into my head, comes into our head. And the second thought for some of us, it can be, what is this? And how come everyone's celebrating it, and I'm the only one that's left out? And guess what? Some of us, we probably go home, right? We tell our parents, and we say that, the teacher was telling us about this and that, this holiday. The students and the kids also. My friend also is doing it. So what about me, Mom? What about me, Dad? Or the parents sometimes may not have a full-length explanation in explaining to you. And they just tell you directly, it's haram, don't go near it. And you're thinking like, you have a default answer in your head. A default set answer. So it's just that anytime a holiday comes by default, it's haram. And some of you guys are just like, you know what, I'll just accept it. I think it's just the way it is. And some of us, we also end up thinking that this is how our religion is. Every other holiday outside is just haram. We don't need to, we can't follow it, and it's just us. And Eid comes around, it's just us and my friends and my relatives, and no one else from outside joins us. Right? If you're talking it that way, statistically, just to show the amount of people joining us, statistically to show how many of us are joining the other holidays, just by default, we're just saying, you know what, it's haram. And these questions keep growing, time to time, it keeps growing. You're in kindergarten, I always say, little kids, they're the most curious. Little kids are literally like born scientists. You know what I would say that for? Because they're always up to something. They're always in the corner, they're trying to figure out, try to put things together. So the explanation that's given to them is the explanation that is going to ride them out through their whole entire life. So once they reach first grade, second grade, third grade, and onwards, then the question starts playing more and more. You have one answer on the side, which is the default one, which is haram. And then you want to ask you, hey, we're having like an invitation, we're having a gathering, why don't you come over? And you're just like, looking into my past years, it's haram. I just can't join it. And then the person might say, what do you mean? Like, why? Why don't you give me any reason? And you're just void of any type of answers. You're just lost. You just don't know how to answer the person. So sometimes to know what is going on and what is the theme of the holiday gives out all the answers. If you know the roots of something, you know everything. Right? It's like, it's like in English dictionary. Right? If you look into the dictionary with the big word, there's always a root word, right? If you know the root word, you know everything. You know, no matter how the twists are for the English word, you know it. Right? So that's just part of life. Anything that you know, what it does, what it molds, and what's the purpose of it, you just know everything about it. Generally. So Allah Ta'ala has blessed, through His divinity, blessed the Muslim community with holidays which adjust to our religion. And then you have other aspects of religion, such as you guys named, Christmas, Easter, Halloween, whatever it may be throughout the year. Those holidays doesn't go with our religion. And the reason why is because the roots have been altered or they have been changed. So if you know the roots of something, then you generally know something about that object or the purpose of or the theme of that holiday or whatever it may be. So let's go back in time a bit. I want everyone to just go back in time with me right now so you know how it all started.
Oh,
Nowadays, I know you guys can go on Google and just click in how Halloween started and you can get the answer. Right? Life is so easy. You just ask Google for it. You don't need to come to the masjid. There are a lot of people out there just get all the answers from Google. But let me tell you something. Google is practically a search engine made by the people. And sometimes the facts and everything that they give is pretty much diverted away from the actual source.
It's not real.
Right? I wouldn't say 100% everything is fake on Google or they're not real, but with the connection of your teachers and using, you can use Google, it's not a problem. It doesn't mean that I'm saying that, you know what, the speaker came today, Mom, Dad, Google has to be banned from our internet service, you know. You can't use it anymore. No, use Google, you have your search up for your homework. There's so many other things you can do, so many beneficial things, right? The internet is good and bad at the same time, right? Take the good, leave the bad. That's what it is. Pick the good and leave the bad. You go on Google, you can find a lot of things about Halloween. And there are probably websites and search bars which they would lead you into celebrating it. They give you good feedback, like, hey, check this out. It's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. Just because everyone's doing something doesn't mean that we have to be on that wagon.
We're not alone.
Right? He's really good, mashallah. You know, he's into the talk. Right? Some of you guys just look like you guys like, you know what? It's the same old stuff every week. I just want to go home. Can't wait till Zohar. We had pizza, and that's about it. You know, just want to go home. You do not have to follow the crowd. Let me give you a very beautiful story. There was an individual at the time of Umar radiallahu anh, during his reign, during his leadership, and this very individual, he was making a very specific type of prayer, supplication. And in this supplication, in his dua, he kept saying, Ya Allah, make me amongst the people who are less in number. Right? Check this dua out. Oh Allah, make me amongst those people who are less in number. So Umar radiallahu anhu is pretty perplexed and confused at that situation. He asked him, why are you making this type of dua? What do you mean Allah Ta'ala should put you or place you amongst the people who are less in number? So he tells Umar radiallahu anhu that, oh Umar, this dua is very specific in line with the ayat and the verses of the Quran. Whenever Allah Ta'ala mentions a negativity in regards to the number of people, abundance of people, like a lot of people, you'll always notice that Allah Ta'ala refers most of the people into a negative way. For example, Allah Ta'ala says, وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. And most of the people, they don't have understanding. وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ وَكَثِيرٌ مِمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ. Right? Most of the people, they don't do. Most of the people, they don't know. But whenever Allah Ta'ala mentions something which is positive, you would see that the connection with the positivity refers and scales out with the people of what? Less in number. For example, Allah Ta'ala says, وَقَلِيلٌ مِنْ عَبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ. And only little of you, only less of you are grateful to Allah Ta'ala, to your Lord. So you guys see the connection here? Who understands what I just said right now? Raise your hand, high up. Right, there's some you didn't understand? Inshallah, you clear it up with the person next to you. All right? Instead of talking about the next episode for the TV series or something, you could ask him about what did the speaker say about the less in number and the more in number, inshallah. So he's telling Umar radiallahu anhu that this is the type of dua and this is a supplication that I made. So Umar radiallahu anhu said, wow, it's pretty amazing. You know, that's really amazing how he thought thoroughly about the connection of the Quran in terms of the people being less, in terms of the people being more, and towards negativity and positivity. So Halloween, statistically, even in America, check this out, in America, annually, yearly base, it is the second biggest commercial holiday. It's the second biggest commercial holiday after Christmas. Christmas is number one. And after that, it's Halloween.
What?
Subhanallah. And in America itself, they spend about $7 billion annually on this holiday.
Bro.
million just goes off on advertisements and costumes. 3.5 million goes on candy. Can you imagine? Right? Imagine all that candy inserting in your body, right? Instead of getting diabetes in just like 2 years, you just get it in a day, right? And those candies are not even that good. You think a person is going to give you one of those very expensive chocolates from Macy's? Right? Yeah, the Ferocious, right? He's not standing there to spend $20 and just to make you happy, right? He's not going to give you one of those special chocolates. Right? So, look how much is being spent on a holiday which the roots of the holidays don't actually support Christianity. It doesn't really support the Jewish community. It doesn't really support any of the teachings of the people of the book, whether you are Jewish, Christian, Muslim, right? It doesn't really support that. Going back approximately 2,000 to 3,000 years into the people of the North, and into the European side, Ireland, England, and the UK, there was a group of people by the name of the Celtics, right? That's the Boston Celtics that you see as the basketball team. But the Celtics of the people, they were named the people of the North. And another narration, like another report that shows that it's not really, they're not really called Celtics, they're called Celtics with a K. But it doesn't really matter about the name. But these people here, they subscribe a holiday at the time of the end of the year of the summer. So basically their summer started around May 1st, which is known as the Beltane holiday, where the summer would start from May 1st and it would end on October 31st. In other words, winter for them would start on November 1. And that's how you get that Halloween connection right there. They believed on October 31st, there's a very thin amount of daylight, which is actually kind of true because as you gradually approach winter, what happens to the day?
It gets smaller.
It gets short, right? 4 o'clock is dark outside, right? 5 o'clock is dark outside, and this is called daylight saving times, right? So we have it around the November 3rd, November 4th. So, I mean, you can imagine even if they're living towards the north, around this time, the days would get really, really short. And the days are made to be very thin. So that they believe that since darkness brings upon bad, generally we have this thing in our head where if it's dark, then it's bad, right? Nobody wants to go to the basement in the dark because there's jinns there, right? Nobody wants to do that. Oh, I saw a jinn. Nobody wants to look under their bed because, don't turn off the light, right? It's always like that. How normal it is for us to connect the dark with bad things. So they also thought the same, that the dark actually was a negativity. It was something which was negated, something which was really bad. And the daytime, which is actually light, which is a good thing, is more, a person feels more better to travel at daytime than nighttime. So it kept the devils and the Satans away, daytime. They only come out at nighttime. But October 31st, before the winter came, they used to think that the Satans and the devils, they would come out at that time because the daytime was very thin and it was very short. So they prescribed this very day as to a holiday where they would dress up their little children and themselves as devils and Satans, so that when the Satans and the devils came out, they wouldn't really recognize them and they wouldn't cause them any harm. You guys get the connection right now?
Yeah.
So if you're dressed like someone, you won't know. It's basically camouflaging into the condition, right? So you're just camouflaging into the situation where they come out. Supposedly, if they do come out, and they thought they did used to come out, then they wouldn't really be recognized. And they somehow used to go through that night and then move on, and then the next day would come. At the same time, the Roman Christians at that time had this holiday which was known as All Saints' Day. All Saints' Day was actually moved all the way to November 1st, because initially, in the beginning, in the early era, in the early time of Christianity, this type of paganism, and what is paganism? To associate partners with God, to associate partners with Allah. So that's what paganism is. So this act over here is paganism. And just to be very relevant about this, even the mushrikeen of Makkah, they were called the pagans of Makkah. Allah Ta'ala never calls them disbelievers. You know, the Prophet ﷺ, when he came into Makkah, when he was born in Makkah, and he was raised in Makkah, the people were not disbelievers. They were actually what? Pagans. Why is that? Can you tell me? Why were the people of Makkah, right, the one with the blue t-shirt? Yes. Right here next to you.
Farid.
Farid, right? Your name is Farid, which means compulsory. So it's compulsory for you to answer me right now. Subhanallah. It's fun for you to answer me. Why doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala call the people of Makkah, does not call the people of Makkah disbelievers, but He describes them to be pagans? Wait, give them a chance. Then I'll ask for help. Yes?
They still believe in Allah, but they associated partners with Allah.
Exactly. I'm pretty sure you guys were taught that here. Right? No?
Yeah.
Alright, you guys gotta meet your teacher afterwards. He'll give you the history when he taught you that. So, the answer is very bright, very clear. The reason why Allah Ta'ala calls the people of Makkah is because they were pagans. They believed in Allah. They never denied Allah. They believed in Allah, but the problem was, you know what? We want to bring more association with Allah. We want to bring more gods with Allah, but we do believe in Allah. We believe in His divinity. We believe in everything that Allah does. But then again, He needs help. And to reach Allah, we need to go through these gods to reach Allah, because Allah Ta'ala is so high in the skies, we're not able to reach Him. So they had all these thoughts and all these beliefs, all these articles of faith that they had within their belief. You know, this is the reason why they were called the pagans of Makkah, the mushrikeen of Makkah. So this action, in this act, right, these people, they adapted this. And remember one thing, sometimes you ask these questions, where do the pumpkins come from? Where do the apples come from, where people dress up in costumes and take their head and go inside a big barrel and try to pick out an apple in their mouth? Yes or no? You guys seen that before, right?
Yeah.
So where do all these extra things come from? Remember, the people, the Celtic people were actually agricultural people. Can someone tell me? Wait, let me point it out. Yes. What does agricultural mean? Yeah. Yeah. People who associate themselves with farming, agriculture, cultivation, harvesting. So on October 31st, if summer ends, what happens to their stocks? What happens to their livestock? Yes.
So they would to the stocks, they won't be able to farm anymore.
Why?
Because the weather isn't right.
Yep, the weather isn't right. There you go. Because November 1st comes, winter time comes, they had to what? They had to make sure they had to pick everything out. They had to harvest everything, and so that they could run on their livestock till the next year. So this is where you have all the apples coming in, you have all the pumpkins coming in, and also the other thing that they would also do, they would create bonfires. They would make fires, so they would support the God who gave out sunlight throughout the whole entire summer. So they had a lot of these adaptations to their culture and to their religion. However, in the beginning time, around the 4th century of the Christians of Rome, the king, the Constantine, he tried to get rid of this adaptation. He tried to get rid of this. He started saying that, how could this, devil worshipping and Satan worshipping go on in my land, where Christianity was the overpower and supreme religion of that time. But it was not easy for him. It was not easy for him to wipe out this total paganism. It was not. So that's the reason why the All Saints Day, which was given for the Christian leaders and the Christian popes that day, he brought it all the way down to where? November 1st. To attach it. And it was known as All Hallows Day. Right? The day of Samhain, All Hallows Day. To treat and respect and honor all the saints of that time. So you see how it works? That he had to bring a technique to fuse two things together so he can slowly wipe out the teachings of this paganism actions. Now, if all this adaptation was occurring and happening at that time, the question is, how in the world did it reach America? That's the question, right? How in the world did it reach America? Right? The other question I can ask is, how did Islam reach America? How did Christianity reach America? So on the basis of how those religions reached America, Halloween also came all the way over here. And the people who lived in Ireland, in the northern part of the UK and Europe, they actually brought all those teachings right here in America, which was not accepted initially. In a lot of the states, it was not accepted. But one of the first states to accept Halloween, remember, they didn't have a trick-or-treating system. You know how the kids go out at nighttime and they ring the doorbells and they ask for candy, or they go into the stores and they ask for candy. This was not actually part of the actions of the Celtic people. They were actually twisted over here in America. Trick-or-treating only started here. Understood?
Yep.
Just to make it more festival-like, more fun-like, more cool-like.
Cool.
Right? So Virginia state was actually one of the first states to accept the Halloween trigger. And by the 19th century, trick-or-treating started happening. You might feel that it probably occurred probably around the 10th century or 18th century. What century are we in right now?
21st.
Right, thank Allah, someone didn't say like 22 or 23. Right? So you guys know where you are. Kids nowadays, sometimes they don't know where they are. Believe me. I mean, I teach classes after classes. They're lost. They're probably, right, what's that? You guys like to play Fortnite. There you go. Fortnite. Oh, you see one of those right? Fortnite, you know?
I hate Fortnite.
See, one word makes you guys so excited. So you see how powerful that is.
Yeah, not really.
Right? Lot of us, we have a lot of engagements, right? You know what it is? You know what I tell the kids about Fortnite is that, you know, you can go ahead and play, but some of the parents also came up to me and they were telling me about it. They're like, there's just one guy on the screen, he just hops around, and so much energy is there, subhanAllah. I wish that energy was in my kid on the weekend or whenever he goes to school to get up in the morning.
I don't like
Right?
Fortnite.
Could you imagine, right? You putting all that energy on a screen of one animated figure, one animated character. He's just jumping all around. But at Fajr time, you just knocked out. You didn't even get up. Where did all that energy go? Right? If what time is class here on Saturday, Sunday mornings?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. I'm pretty sure. Right? You know what? I'm sure there's that one kid that walks in around 11 o'clock. Right? And he's always like that. And you ask him, what happened? And the reality is, he was playing Fortnite last night. That's what it was. And he doesn't want to admit it. He wants to catch up on some sleep.
Good thing I don't have a
Right.
PS4.
So whatever the engagement you guys are in, make sure you guys have good control over that engagement. So trick-or-treating, it came in that sense. It started off in Virginia in the 19th century, and they put some salt over it. They put some salt over it to cover up the paganism. A person, he goes outside, and the stores are, they're selling costumes, they're selling masks. Everyone's doing it. I'm gonna do it. It's not a problem. Let me tell you guys a very funny story. Once, like 2 years ago, I was teaching an Islamic seminar class, right? And I didn't realize that it was Halloween then, right? You should be so off these holidays that the dates shouldn't even matter to you as much. Like, you know what it is. You know it has no connection to you. So I totally forgot that it was Halloween. So I go in class, and I'm sitting there, And this is a Muslim-friendly environment, you know. So it's like a religious class. And right there, a kid walks in with a costume, dressed up like some action figure, right? And the thing is, he had a Quran in his hand, right? And he walks in, right? You guys might be saying stuff for Allah, but hold on your horses. Hold on your horses. Now, right? Let me tell you guys something. You know, sometimes you tell your parents, right? Check this out. You might feel that the kid did something wrong. Okay, he probably did something wrong. But I never told him that, hey, listen, leave the masjid. You did something wrong. I never said anything to him like that. Look, as a Muslim, you need to know how to react to a situation. Maybe he doesn't know. And he actually genuinely did not know, right? Don't judge quickly. We as Muslims, we should not judge quickly, right? Do not judge people right away.
Like, they don't have knowledge
Right?
of that. No, we shouldn't judge knowledge.
So here's the thing. Some of you guys tell your parents that if your parents tell you it's haram and you can't do it, you know what you tell your parents? Oh, Mr. Kibriya Chaudhry next door is doing it. Or Zaid Khan is doing it. Right? You give your parents Muslim names. You tell them that, you know what, but he's doing it. But the Prophet ﷺ said, you are a shepherd in your own household. You need to take care of your family first. You know what's right for your family. So those of you who feel like, you know what, I'm not gonna dress as costumes or anything. I'm not gonna dress up as anybody. I'm just gonna go with my friend, just to be supportive. I gotta support him for the chocolates he gets. It's one of the purpose of my life today. I need to do that. No, you can't give yourself excuses. Right? You know the roots of it. It's paganism. You know that. So this kid, he comes in and he doesn't know. He honestly doesn't know. And you know what it is? I was actually more happy with him to come with this Quran. Sitting down. I explained to him. The following year, he didn't have it on. So check that out, right? He grew up in such an area where there's no Muslims around. Nobody ever told him anything. No one ever told him anything. So after some explanation, it took him some time to adapt to it, but he eventually got on the line to it. So he understood the roots of it. So you guys are very lucky and fortunate people, fortunate students who get to come over here and study Islamic studies over here, the roots of your religion. And not only that, your teachers, you're lucky to have such teachers, and you guys are fortunate to have such teachers who can tackle these issues with you, right? A lot of the times the students, they don't ask any questions when they're little. They have the chance to do so. When they go to high school, they change. They start asking about okay, why is it like this in religion? Why isn't it like that in religion? And when they go to college, they got all these notions and ideologies, which just totally diverse themselves away. Remember, I seen kids who attach themselves with the house of Allah. They're doing much, much better than those Muslim students who did not attach themselves to the masjid in the early age, but later on in college, they're just away. They're like atheists. They don't even know what to believe anymore. They have doubts coming in their hearts because they never clarified it when they were little, So the roots of it, again, Halloween is not Halalloween, all right? Don't try to make Halloween Halalloween, right? He said Halloween, right? So, and then lastly, the last thing that I want to mention before letting you guys go. I know you guys want to talk to one another. You guys are very jumpy. You guys have a lot of energy. You guys got a lot of cheese in your pizza today. But the last thing that I want to tell you guys is that whenever a person asks you about Halloween, right, don't react them in a very vulgar way, right? If a person comes up to you and says, so why don't you follow this? Don't tell him directly. Okay, you can tell him it's prohibited in our religion, but hey, if you can give me a minute or two, let me explain to you what it is. Always go for the explanation. Do not go for such a reaction where you're telling the person that it's haram. You even talking about it is haram. Don't even associate yourself with me anymore. I'm not your friend anymore. Right? You don't need to do that. You don't need to close the gates. You need to be the one explaining. You're the better person. Alright? And also remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, Al-mar'u ma'a man ahabba, that a person will be with whom he loves. Sometimes adapting to these criterias. Sometimes adapting yourself to these notions and ideologies. You want to be with them because you like them. You think it's cool. Right? It gets you on the wrong path. That's what it is. And the Prophet ﷺ said that on the day of Qiyamah, a person will be risen. A person will rise on the day of Qiyamah with whom he loves. So the one you follow in this world is the person you will rise on the day of Qiyamah. Right? Think about it. And sometimes when Eid comes around, just like the Imam mentioned, you have 2 Eids coming around. And every week there's a holiday which comes about, which is the Friday and the Jumu'ah prayer. And a lot of you guys are at school. Right? A lot of you guys are at school on that day. And you guys cannot make it for the Jumu'ah prayers. It's okay in that sense, because I know you guys cannot get out for the Friday prayers. But if you're in high school, now this is not, I'm not telling you to do a bad thing here. Some of you guys probably in high school are probably going to start high school. Many of times, for absolutely no reason, kids, they cut school. And they cut classes. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? Right? It's the reality. If 8 o'clock is their first period, they're not there. They're at 9. They're there at 9. They're at 10. And they probably do that once a week. They probably do that 3 times a week. Hey, if you're gonna cut class, and if your period does not fall aligned with your Jummah prayers, then I would suggest you that the whole week be on time for class, but that one class you can cut just for the Jummah prayer. Right? If it's an important class, okay, don't do it. I'm not telling you to look at yourself, right? If you're a person who cuts class 3 to 4 times a week, and I know plenty of students like that, because you end up doing that anyways, you might as well make up for all the class and do what is rightful. And you can always talk to your teacher, your guidance counselor, or the person who does your scheduling. Make your schedule such that you have the Friday prayers open. Or maybe even if you have 20 minutes, 15 minutes, know the khutbah time, know when the salah starts. There's a masjid around. Go to the masjid and do your Jummah prayer and come back. And if you cannot do that also, make sure you guys go home and you pray. The Zuhr salah instead of the Jummah prayer, or any salah. Now winter time is coming. You have the Asr salah and the Zuhr salah, which the Zuhr salah becomes qada in some sense, right? It's delayed. But that doesn't mean that just because something is delayed, I can't do it. Make sure you have your prayers on time. You guys coming on Saturday, you guys coming on Sunday over here, you guys generally catch the Zuhr prayer over here. You guys are fortunate people. But try to catch more Zuhr prayers. And whenever you have off, even for one salah, and I highly suggest the parents as well. The parents, we have work, we have job. The kids, they have school, they have homework, right? They have all that. These are 2 worlds apart. Remember, that one time you can have connection. The kids can have connection with their parents. The parents having connection with their kids. At one point is the salah. Salah can be an excuse for both of you to be connected, right? You can walk with your father to the house, to the masjid, even if it's 1-2 blocks. On the way, you can ask your dad, how was work today? The father can ask the child, how was school today? Right? That 1-2 blocks is your connection to the house of Allah. Use prayer as an excuse to fulfill the commandments of Allah. Use prayers as a means to connect with your parents, as a means to connect with your kids as well. So may Allah Ta'ala give me and all of us the tawfiq and the ability to act upon whatever has been said. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. I know you guys have a lot of questions, so I can give the students some time for Q&A. But we want a question per person. And make it a good question, alright guys? Yeah.
Basically in school, someone asked me why. So one person told me tomorrow's
Halloween?
yeah. And then I told him it's prohibited, and then she was like, why? So I told him I told him another story about the Europe and how Halloween began and how it was prohibited.
See, whatever I spoke about, he already adapted it, mashallah. Right? So I tell you, highly says you that you keep doing what you have to do. And if a person doesn't listen to you, it doesn't matter. Your job is to convey. If the person doesn't really adapt to whatever you're saying, it's fine. Not everybody's gonna follow you, right? Not everybody's gonna follow you. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 more questions.
Any more questions?
Anybody have a question?
Yeah.
How did Halloween get its name?
Halloween got its name from All Saints Day. And they named the nights of Halloween All Hallows Day. And then they put them together and became Halloween. All Hallows Eve, right? Yeah.
One last question, Arafat?
Is the candy that the people give you wrong? The way like you treat the people when
So-
you knock on the
Could you
door,
paraphrase the
like
question?
trick or treat.
Yeah. So he's asking actually a good question. The candy that the person is giving you, is it haram? First of all, you being out there just for the candy, it's wrong in itself. But supposing if somebody does give you a candy, necessarily it does not make the candy haram. Unless the candy itself is made out of such ingredients which is haram. But the person giving to you, it does not make it haram. Remember, you're going out there to beg people to give you candy, right?
Begging is bad.
And begging, even though it's permissible, one of the most lowest thing in the halal that you can do is actually beg someone. Alright? So if you're asking the question, if the person just giving something, if it's haram or not, of course it's halal. But if it's on the basis of Halloween, it's going to be prohibited, it's going to be haram because he's doing it for that cause, you know? Sure.